Regular listeners to the Foreign Desk Explainer, and what discerning student of international affairs would not be, may recall that we have, in one sense, been here before. Almost exactly 1 year ago, Foreign Desk Explainer 452, broadcast shortly after US President Donald Trump returned to the White House, attempted to furnish context for his obsession with acquiring Greenland. You can find it on our website. Seriously, it's some of our best work, and includes, for reasons which make perfect sense in context, a 2-paragraph digression on Pocatello, Idaho, a town whose delights include the Museum of Clean, believed to possess the world's largest collection of vintage vacuum cleaners. Big hello once again to all our listeners in Pocatello, Idaho.
Hello, Pocatello!
However, in another sense, the Foreign Desk has not been here before, here being Nuuk, Greenland's tiny but charming capital, in which a team from Monocle Radio is spending this week, broadcasting the Monocle Daily live from the atrium of Katwak, the Greenland Cultural Centre. So this explainer is explaining, at least in part, why we're here.
Come on.
Just get on with it.
The short answer is that while other Trumpian manias have come and gone during his first year back on the job, you may recall the 90-minute crusade against Islamist militias in Nigeria on Boxing Day.
Donald Trump says the US has launched several strikes against Islamic State forces in Nigeria.
Or the fleeting whim of rescuing Iran's people from the Ayatollahs.
President Trump, who had told the Iranian people help is on the way, pulling back from threats of striking on Iran after he said the regime halted the execution of 800 people.
His designs upon Greenland have only escalated. They may indeed have escalated to that always dangerous point at which someone has huffed and puffed so long and so loudly they fear looking pretty silly if they do not blow something down. Here is where we appear to be as of this recording. Trump has reiterated his insistence that the US can, must, and will acquire Greenland.
It's the United States alone that can protect this giant mass of land, this giant piece of ice, develop it and improve it and make it so that it's good for Europe and safe for Europe and good for us. And that's the reason I'm seeking immediate negotiations to once again discuss the acquisition of Greenland by the United States.
He has threatened punitive tariffs on European countries which have declared their support for Denmark, in several instances by dispatching token contingents of troops to Greenland. He has posted a fake picture of himself planting a US flag on Greenland and another of him sitting in the Oval Office, showing a gaggle of Western leaders a map of the Western Hemisphere, on which the Stars and Stripes is plastered across not only the United States, but Greenland, Canada and Venezuela, which is at least heartening news for Mexico, Cuba and Panama, in whom Trump seems to have lost interest, at least for the moment. Trump has also written a letter to Norway's Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre, which is genuinely difficult to describe without recourse to the phrase just palpably deranged, like the kind of stuff which would have the relatives of any other cranky 79-year-old hiding his car keys. In said missive, Trump explicitly links his threats to seize Greenland to the Norwegian Nobel Committee's decision to award its 2025 Peace Prize to someone else. Even though that someone else, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, recently handed her Nobel medal over to Trump, apparently as a sort of down payment on Venezuela's presidency. Jonas Gahr Støre, clearly and understandably bemused, has responded by pointing out that the Nobel Committee is independent of Norway's government.
But I feel that Norway has tremendous control over who gets the Nobel Prize, despite what they say.
He has restrained himself from pointing out that Greenland is not really anything much to do with Norway anyway, but may have feared that Trump would redirect his attentions to Svalbard, which is. Trump is correct that Greenland is strategically important and only going to become more so. Its location makes it bulwark, sentry position and staging post. There are reasons why, during World War II, the United States built 13 US Army bases and 4 US Navy facilities on Greenland, and why, at the peak of the Cold War, around 10,000 American troops were stationed here. As Greenland's ice melts, it is also emerging as a key trade route, which is, as Trump has suggested, of interest to China. Late last year, the Chinese container ship Istanbul Bridge sailed from Ningbo to Felixstowe in 20 days. The first to do so via what is now known as the Northern Sea route and without an icebreaker escort. And this is to say nothing of the mineral riches interred beneath Greenland's daunting landscapes. China does hold a stake in at least one Greenlandic mining project at the Kvanefjeld deposit near Nasak, but this has been dormant since Greenland's government banned uranium mining on the island in 2021. But, and as will doubtless be pointed out to Trump yet again by his fellow Western leaders at Davos this week, the United States can already have all this, pretty much. The 1951 agreement, which permits the US Space Force base at Pituffik in Greenland's north, also permits the US to build as many more such facilities as they please, so long as authorities in Nuuk and Copenhagen assent, and as Denmark is a member of NATO, it is unlikely that they wouldn't. Denmark has already been correctly cagey about dealing with China where Greenland is concerned. It has, for example, blocked Chinese bids to buy an abandoned naval base and build airports. And the consistent line from Greenland's government is that Greenland is open for business. It just isn't for sale.
We do not distinguish or discriminate between foreign investments, but it is important to point out that it must be under our terms.
So why is Trump so insistent? With Trump, the dumbest possible reason is always a contender. It seems increasingly clear that Trump, who was a real estate huckster before he was anything else, is determined that he will preside over the first major expansion of US territory since the annexation of Hawaii in 1898. Or, and he may think this more of a model, the purchase of Alaska from Russia in 1867, a property steal for the ages. The $7.2 million the US paid then is worth maybe $150 million now. As of this recording, there are at least a couple of New York City apartments with asking prices in that area. There might be easier targets for Trump's acquisitive impulses than Greenland, which would come at the cost of ending NATO, rupturing the transatlantic alliance, and possibly, if Russia interprets this as open season on the former Warsaw Pact and China ditto on Taiwan, igniting a world war. But Greenland is huge. And does anyone seriously believe it impossible that the president dreams of America's 51st and biggest state being called Trumpia or Donaldania? For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Mueller.